Hey, everybody. Welcome to TABNation, the official podcast of Truckers Against Bullying. As some of you know, TAB is an organization that's working on eradicating bullying and toxic fandom within the science fiction genres. I'm Kat King, and our other podcast hosts today are Rex Wood, director of Truckers Against Bullying, Bonfire, and Miss Ellie, who I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton of the special baton. It's a special honor to introduce our special guest today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Miss Ellie to do that honor.
All right. So Michelle Hurd is an extra talented actress with an impressive list of credits that includes Laugh and Order, Blindspot, Hawaii Five-0, and Gossip Girl, just name few. And currently, you can find her starting on the hit Star Trek Picard as a Raffi, and I am honored to welcome her here. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Ellie, honey. How you doing? I got to say, you're so impressive. I only speak one language. So, let's give it up to you. You're phenomenal.
Yes, thank you.
Beautiful introduction.
Yeah, thanks. I tried.
Yeah, and it's good to be here. And I want to thank you guys for the work you're doing because it's incredibly important. Let's try and turn the tide in our society, in our world now. It's really necessary. I feel like this not only is humanity, but our planet is hurting, and we need to really we all need to do better.
Absolutely.
to make a deal with ourselves, with each other, with the planet, to do better. So I really thank you guys for the work you're doing.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, yeah, we want to really start today by acknowledging a couple of things, and I'll let I was going to kind of let Bonfire take the lead on this a little bit, but let's start off with talking a little bit about your story. Talk to us about your experiences with bullying, with and without your role. It could be having to do with your role on Star Trek, could be with a personal experience in the past that has nothing to do with acting at all. It could be anything that you want to share with us, but we would love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. It's interesting. I grew up in Greenwich Village, New York. Very proud of that. I think one of the things that makes me the most happy about growing up in Greenwich Village is, especially back in the day, the village was all just artists and gays. That's what I grew up with. That was my norm. I think the abnormal was sort of seeing, typical heterosexuals on streets. That was sort of like, that's weird. It was all about, our fabulous drag queens and our trans, brothers and sisters. And, and on top of that, I'm dyslexic. I have, I grew up with a lot of issues of learning and challenges. And I also, you could hear this low voice. I had this low voice when I was probably like 4.
Yeah.
People never knew exactly what I was. They would constantly call me Mr. Hurd's son, and sort of dismiss me when I tried to explain who I was. So I have an interesting sort of path because I was angry. I was an angry youth because of not being able to read, well and speak out loud, and being sort of not acknowledged as to who I was. And so bullying became a real, painful sort of experience, right?
Yeah.
And as I became a little bit more of a teenager and got more angry, I started to be the one who would, go after bullies. So anybody in my sphere, my family, my friends, when somebody would come into school and start to condescend or bully, I would get like right up in their face. It got to a point where like my classmates would say, if there was a new student in the school, they're like, be friends with Michelle. It's your best bet. She will keep you safe. And, she won't, just that's the best thing. And I think that concept of injustice, inequities, picking on people who can't fend from themselves really became sort of part of my person. I can't not see it now. I have a real hard time It was funny when I was doing Law and Order SVU, you know, playing a detective, I had to remind myself when I was walking around the streets of the world that I was not a cop, because every now and then I'd be like, hey, you, none of that stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
come over here. You want to talk to me? You know, I really had this sort of thought of like, I want to protect everybody. And then, you know, now cut to being the aunt of two phenomenal nephews, one of which is a neurodiverse creature who's fantastic, who makes our life better every single day. And yet I experience his people abusing him and denying him. And, you know, I think one of the things that just kills me so much about our people who are on the spectrum and neurodiverse is that people literally talk over them and talk about them with them right there, or they make these assumptions like if someone presents to them their difficulties with speech, they sort of get, you know, instead of having patience and grace and space to hold for them, they are shorter, maybe talk louder, get more aggressive with them, and are like, hurry up, you know, figure this out. And I always try to say, you know, picture yourself as a youth being transported to another country that you don't speak the language at all. And this in youth, and I say youth because there's a vulnerability to it, right?
Yeah.
That youth is trying to ask for help using only the language that they have. And to think about that individual with a whole bunch of people looking at them and not trying to understand them, not trying to hear them, not trying to find a common place where they can communicate, well, that's just cruel.
Right.
That's just cruel.
Right.
You can see a person struggling and trying to communicate. Take a moment, calm down. The most insidious thing that we do in this society is having neurotypical people make the assumption that a neurodiverse individual should hurry up and catch up to them.
Right.
It's completely the opposite.
Right.
A neurotypical individual should slow down, take a deep breath, and communicate to them on their level. I just the other day I was in Best Buy, and I ran into an actress that I had just done a film with. And she had her glorious son, Donnie, glorious son, who's probably 6, 7, like let's say 7. And he's on the spectrum. And this Best Buy in the laundry section where the washing machine and dryers are is his happy place. He will spend hours there and he will tell you every single thing you can about washing machine and dryers. And she introduced me to him. And you guys, his energy was so beautiful. He was skipping. His hands were high and his voice was so, you know, happy. And he was showing me all the different machines and I wanted to skip. And so I would skip with him. And when he would put his hands up, I'd put my hands up, and we had a glorious, you know, play date for like an hour. I just hung with him. And then I saw them again. We went to see a show of a mutual friend. And I said, can I leave a video message to Donnie? Because I want to say thank you to him. And I left him a message and said, thank you for spending time with me. And his mom just sent me another couple of videos with him talking to me as well. And they said to me after, he doesn't talk that much to strangers. You open the door. While we were in Best Buy, he took my hand. He took my hand, held my hand, and walked me through to bring me. Do you understand how beautiful that is?
Yeah.
And all I did was listen to him.
Yeah.
I took a moment to say, to tap into his energy, his voice. Yeah. And it touches my heart so much because we don't understand the world, the beautiful world that they see.
Right.
If we could take a moment, we would see that beautiful world as well.
Right. Absolutely.
I didn't know that washing machine and dryers were so glorious. They're fantastically glorious.
Yeah.
So
now you want to hear the funny thing though, and these guys know it. I actually in my job I work for Whirlpool. Okay, so isn't that funny? Isn't that hilarious? Yeah,
That's
exactly.
hysterical.
There's a new rep for me in your area. I just need to find him and get his information. When he grows up, I can hire him to come represent Whirlpool. So
And,
I
it's,
love that story.
I love that. And you know how, as funny as it is, it's actually so true. Because
Yeah.
literally he would be a glorious sales rep. He would
Yeah.
make people buy. I was going to buy them whether I needed one or not,
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's
beautiful.
exciting. So as soon as you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, what a
Yeah.
connection there, So
Yeah, and that's his happy place, So
definitely, yeah.
I think that's my sort of story, is that I just, I really see the beauty. I mean, Allie can tell you this. I see the beauty in individuals, and the contribution that we all have. Where it's so unique. It's so unique.
Right.
I would hate to live in a world that is so homogenized that everybody looks the same, talks the same, has the same, all of that. I mean, how terribly boring would that be? That would be like eating the same meal. Like I say to Ellie, I say to our friends, my group here, I wish you nothing but like big adventures and yummy food, because that changes your taste buds. Your brain explodes because you've tried something new.
Yeah.
And that's just like it is when you talk to individuals people that society, for some crazy reason, thinks are not the norm, not the majority. We are the majority.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are the majority.
Yeah.
And our perspectives are glorious and
Absolutely.
should be amplified and celebrated and supported.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's just a wonderful story. It just is. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. No,
Yes. I know that, you're so right. Everything you're saying, it just resonates. We want to live in a world that is just full of people like that, who value and embrace diversity and think of it as an advantage, as a benefit to our society. We really need different perspectives. We really do, in order to persist as a species anyway. So we definitely need it. And
interesting. I was on a Zoom just right before this, and it's another Zoom about creating safe spaces. Basically, for this is with actors, so it's with in our industry, and in this committee we have people, PWAs, performers with disabilities, and trans actors. And what's so fabulous when you're in these rooms with different people is you learn so much. I can ask a question and get a real-time answer of what really impacts those people, because I don't know everything that happens in a person with disabilities world. I don't know all the things that we're missing. I don't know all the things that happen in trans person's world. I need that information. And when you're in a room with all of us, with everybody, the conversation is broadened. The information is more layered and more complete, and we can really make fully vetted, fully inclusive decisions. When I every now and then I have some acting people who ask me to coach them on auditions or teach them whatever, and I use this one example all the time just for actors. The play Romeo and Juliet. It's been around for centuries, right? Forever. Everybody knows it. People go see Romeo and Juliet to this day, continuously. They don't go to see Romeo and Juliet because it's not like, oh, hey, you guys, there's a new production of Romeo and Juliet, and this time, Juliet doesn't die and Romeo doesn't die, and they go and have a fabulous, wedding and dinner and party. No, it's the story of Romeo and Juliet. The reason we go to see it is because we want to see the different individuals tell that story through their perspective.
Right.
And their unique perspective changes the whole show, that you can see something you never saw before.
Right.
That's why it's important to protect those who seem, I don't want to say seem vulnerable, but those who are being attacked because people perceive them as vulnerable.
Right.
That's because they have strength. They have strength and resilience. I think of my nephew. He gets up every single day every single day and is ready to greet the day. That little boy, Donnie, he gets up every day, puts his clothes on, and is excited to greet the day,
Right.
even with obstacles.
Right.
And that's pretty
It is.
powerful.
It is when you think about us, when you think about like everybody else, how we treat the
Neurotypical.
mornings, like, oh my gosh, I got to get up. I don't really want to. I'd like to just stay in bed today, all those kind of things, to actually see that and see how excited somebody is to meet the day and do
Exactly.
It's just, I still wish I had that outlook at times.
Exactly.
I sit and go, there's days I get up and I'm like, no, let me just pull the cover back from my head.
I mean, I got to tell you, that's literally why when Donnie started skipping in Best Buy, and I saw the joy it gave him, I was like, oh, heck yeah, I'm skipping too.
Yeah.
Oh, this lady's skipping through the washing machine and dryer aisle. I was, and it made me so happy.
Yeah.
I literally was like, yes. I mean, what a gift. What a gift.
Yes, definitely.
So much so.
Yep.
I know that Ellie has a question for you.
Yeah,
so
she's got a few, I think.
And she has a few, but we're going to start with just one because I know, and I know Bonnie also has something she wants to share with us.
Absolutely.
So let's start with Ellie, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I have to say, my first interaction with you was through the cameo. My first cameo was asking you for advice for people who are bullied, and you say amazing quote. I will read that. You need to be your biggest fan, because if you wait for someone to stand up for you, you can wait for the rest of your life.
That's
and then since I hear telling me this quote, I am trying to be my biggest fan. So I just want to say thank you for the quote.
Oh, please, Ellie. It's the truth. I want you to be your biggest fan, because then I'll be right up there next to you. I'm your second biggest fan, but you have to be your best. And that is the truth, isn't it? That's the truth, because I feel like in our world, in our society, I don't know if it's, because of this thing with social media and Instagram and putting false things out there, and the concept of what we should be like, that whole thing. I don't understand who we're giving the power to validate that. Like who sets that up? I don't know them. I've never seen them. I don't know how they live. Why should I be taking information from people who I don't even know? We know who this is, and this is a glorious temple. This is a unique, one of a kind being, and we have to be our biggest fan, our biggest promoter, because it would be just so heartbreaking to think of how like Ellie, you're just amazing, and to think like you could wait for somebody outside of ourselves, someone outside of ourselves, to tell us that we're okay. No. I'm not going to give anyone else the power. I know I'm okay. I know I'm more than okay. I know I'm important. And I love that you're taking that to heart, my dear. I do it every day. I try to remind myself every day. And there are absolutely days that we struggle, that it's, you have to really go,
yeah.
Lift myself up.
Like really pull yourself up, really
pull yourself up. But I said, and I think I might have said this before, just like the flight attendants say on the airplane, put your oxygen on first. Put your oxygen on first, because then you can help everybody.
Right.
If I don't put my oxygen on first and I put it on this person here, I might be able to put it on that person, but I'm definitely not going to be able to put it back on me. So I won't be able to help anyone else. But if I self-preservation, if I feed myself, if I give myself the oxygen I need, well, there's no stopping who I can help.
Yes. And also I was, when I searched some info about you, and I find out you are dyslexic. I'm dyslexic too. And I have to say, I am not sure if it's disability or something. I lean myself up, and I did English courses, and right now I am owner
It's
of
amazing.
C1 English certificate, and I last week I start my dream job. I am English instructor. I am teaching little kids English. So
Ellie, that's phenomenal.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's phenomenal. I'm so proud of you. Yes.
yes, as a person who second language is English, it was so hard. Learning another language is so hard. So yeah,
Yes,
but
it is.
I did it, and I'm proud of myself
You
for
did,
that.
and that's why the first thing I said was that, because I only speak barely American, New York. I don't even know if it's English.
Yeah.
And
And I have to
I
say-
think New York can be a language of its own, though.
Yeah, it sounds
No.
like dialect.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Ellie, I from like the years of being acting, trust me, there have been times when we would do table reads, with our script.
Mhm.
And I'd be this young lady, and there's all these, known actors around the room,
Mhm.
and you're sitting there with a script, and that's even more stressful, right?
Mhm.
Like my eyes would the letters would just go absolutely crazy, and my heart's palpitating, and you're just trying to do your best you can to just read. And at a certain point, I had to just start saying, I would just say, I'm like, well, I'm dyslexic, so here we go. And I'd come across a word, and I go, how do you say that word? What is that?
Mhm.
Okay, thanks. What's that name? Okay, thanks. Because I'm not going to be ashamed of it. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to pretend it's not there.
Yeah.
Also, and Ellie can contest to this. When you're dyslexic, when you're neurotypical, it's a very linear way to comprehend stuff. It's just straightforward. You guys know, you don't even realize it. You guys just compute it naturally. When you're dyslexic, I always say that, I feel like I go like down the block, around the corner, up an escalator, down some stairs, come around the corner, hail a cab, get a boat, swim a little bit, and then I get to the final project. Because, you don't even understand what's happening in your brain. But because of that, I go on a journey.
Yes.
And I actually get to see and experience a lot of stuff just to get to that place. So to me, we're living a full life.
Yeah.
It's a very colorful life to be dyslexic, and I'm not going to be ashamed about it. I own it. It's part of me. It's who I am.
And also, these guys can tell how nervous I was when we first I was joining in this community, and how I growing up, and they can tell you how I grow up with my speaking, and and actually I have the question for you. So I have one. What would Raffi do if she witnesses some getting bullied, and what would be her advice?
Ooh, I can't wait for you guys to see season 3, just to let you know about that. First of all, I would hope that it's tricky, right? Because I'm like, am I by myself? Is there anybody who I care about next to me? Because I might need Seven or Elnor to like grab me. Because I think with Raffi, and that's what I love about her. She feels things like so deep, like it hits her, and it's really hard for her to unattach herself from a scenario that she sees that's injustice. So I don't know if it's unfortunately or fortunately, I think Raffi would not hesitate. She would be like a, mother wolf on protecting her cubs. She'd be on them and really in someone's face and say, why? Why? What are you doing? What are you doing? Step away right now before I grab my phaser.
Right, exactly.
Because I really think that she is that without having her, her situation with her own child and all that, she has this maternal impulse,
right,
that she tries to take care of everybody else. And it's interesting too, isn't it? Because as an addict, right? So she's a recovering addict.
Yeah.
It's almost like she would put more value on taking care of the other person than of herself, because she may not even think she's worthy. You know, she's messed up so many times with her family, with herself, with Starfleet, with so many things that, you know, there's a self-abuse that we get to, so that when she sees abuse, it's tangible. It's something that she can put her hands on and that she can correct. So I think immediately Raffi would be on them like, you know, like I don't know, a cat on a mouse, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was a great question, Ellie. Thank you
That
so
was.
much.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and I want to segue over to Bonnie, because Ms. Bonfire has a fantastic, I know she has a fantastic topic she wants to bring into today's conversation. So let's go ahead over to Bonfire.
Yeah, all y'all. So again, thank you so much, Michelle, for being here. We're so excited. And I want to also sort of mirror back some of the things that you have shared with us. It's a very beautiful story of Donnie. My uncle's, his name was Donnie too. So that got me a little teared up. But first and foremost, and our listeners and viewers won't know this at the time of our viewing, but I just do want to take a moment to honor that tomorrow is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I do want to take a moment and say, you know, just how deeply grateful that we are all here. Also, as anti-racists is part of what we're aiming for. So the anti-bullying as well as the anti-racism.
That's right.
Thank you again for speaking about neurodiversity. I live with ADHD and I do work on it. I try not to interrupt people, but I forget things. So, and I joke that I'm the Borg queen for that reason. So I'm working on it. I mean, because I'm like, where am I? Because for your, you know, your journey there, like, how did I get into my kitchen when I was supposed to be brushing my teeth right now? So thank you for all of that. But I do want to circle it back, because one of the things that I recently learned in this past week, I've been doing some trainings with the National Council of Mental Wellbeing, and I've been going through the mental health first aid program. So that said, I really appreciate that you raised up the fact that your last Zoom call was with this community that is to be, you know, there's a big movement right now for, you know, not about us, without us. So for starters, I want to throw that out there. Like, thank you for that information, because it's,
That's beautiful. I'm writing that down. Not about us, without us.
Yeah. And then I do want to circle it back, because some of the language that we learned about in mental health first aid is people first language. And this is going to be a practice for all of us. And we can all help each other, hold each other accountable. And again, it's a matter of creating these safe spaces where we can practice these languages. One of the things that we addressed recently is, you know, an addict. Or, you know, we can flip it even to a bully. So what we want to start to ease away from is talking about people as, you know, a definition of their behavior patterns.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things, so a person living with addiction, or, you know, a person who is lives with neurodiversity or something along that lines. And again, a person who lives with bullying, you know, behaviors, because honestly, we're all on the spectrum on that too. Like, we all bully to some level. So I'm going to wrap this up in a hot second here, but so I want to throw out there something that I also learned in peer recovery work, where I've got my certifications there. And again, I'm not a therapist, so I'm just here from that perspective as a peer advocate. But they had us go through, as part of cultural competency, implicit.harvard at edu. You can go through, and there's all different, and we'll get this together for our notes too, but there's all different tests that you can take to understand, because we all have these implicit biases that, again, when we're not getting our needs met, and we might not realize it, like much like when you're being impacted with addiction, you know, behaviors, you're cognitively not there, maybe to the extent where you're realizing that you're trying to manipulate somebody or bully them. And so that's one of the things I want to shift away from, is just, and again, it's going to be a practice for everybody in the community, but just looking at and acknowledging like I can bully too, and what are my boundaries? So that said, I'm curious, Michelle, how do you feel like, I mean, I know that you talked about meeting people with where they're at. I'm wondering if you have any perspective of meeting yourself where you're at, because that's a lot of what Raffi's journey has been as well. And she didn't want to be behaving in the manner that she was, but here she is and going through this amazing process of recovery and rebuilding relationships. So what do you think about that?
Oh, I love that. I mean, and thank you for all your work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I mean, my mom's a psychologist, so we grew up being totally therapized. So I appreciate it, and I actually minored in psychology in college because it's, to me, the brain is such an amazing thing, and it's just an incredibly powerful part of us, and in all the ways. Being on spectrums is a protection as well. So. I appreciate so much the journey of my life. I am a work in progress. I have, as I said, when we started, as a teenager, I was so angry. There was such anger from, being a sort of, condescended to and talked down to because of my disorders, and, just and the trying to ignore who I am, the erasing who I was. So I became so angry. Well, that's hard. Having, it's you meet people, you meet people in this life, and you see, or, you can interact with somebody, or can see someone over there and they seem really angry, and you can pass judgment. But you also don't understand that the person who's angry is suffering as well. And that sometimes that rage is so hard to release. They might be in this place and they're just here, and they're like, how, and they know it too. And they're like, damn it, I want to get out of here. I want to get out of here. And I can't. I don't know how to get out.
Shift your brain.
How to shift the brain. And, that's been my journey. I decided to go to Boston University to go to college. One, because I needed to be in a city, because I'm a city kid, New Yorker. I needed to be around city people, or, trains and cars, but also because I needed to leave my village. I needed to leave my youth, my habits, the people that I had been around, the ones that knew me as that person. And I wanted to try to become kinder and nicer and more empathetic. And it was a conscious effort and a journey to do that. And I'm, sometimes I go overboard now because I'm so conscious of everybody, but, it's a good journey. It's a good path. That's what I want. And, it's interesting. You're just the whole talking about the conscious and unconscious bias, right? And it's so embedded. People don't it's so embedded in almost every single thing we do. There's there's a fabulous Broadway play with Muppets that's called Avenue Q.
Avenue Q, yeah.
And there's that fantastic song, Everyone's a Bit Racist. And I mean, I swear to God, I'm like, that should be the anthem of America, because that's the truth right there. That is, the world is, everybody is just a little bit racist. And one of the things that I find so interesting in my industry as an actor, and I've said this to different writers and, directors and producers, and they're like, oh, I never thought of that. This is where that unconscious bias is. I get scripts, right? I'll get a script. Now, I am a woman of color. This is just who I am. That's how I walk on this earth. That's how, what I see when I walk out, when I look out of my eyes. So when I read a script and I see a character, female character, I think it's me. I think it's a cool character. I'm like, oh, that's me. So then I read it and I'm reading it and I'm like, da, 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 and I'm having good. And then all of a sudden it gets to this one point where it goes, Shaquisha, black girl. And I'm like, oh, and then it comes down here and goes, Juanita, Spanish girl. And then it goes over here and it says Asian, all the stuff. And then I realize, oh, any character that is not described as ethnic is white.
It's white.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's not,
it's still that way. It's still that way in this.
It's still that way. And I don't assume that the world is white, but the author who happens to be white does. So the only time they delineate and identify a character is by saying that they're ethnic. That is unconscious bias.
Yeah.
Because there's an assumption. And my whole thing is like, look, I'm not trying to take away your perspective. God bless you. More power to you. But if you're going to do that, then you actually have to make an effort so that when you write your character, you say white, Caucasian. Like if you're going to highlight and separate people of ethnic people in your descriptions, you need to just do that for white people as well.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And if you don't want to do that, then don't do it for anybody.
Right.
Right.
Let me
leave it open. Leave it completely open.
Yeah.
And I totally, Michelle, I hear you as a screenwriter. I'm a screenwriter.
Yep.
And I adapt works, that have already been previously written for all the time. And even in my writing for anything that's an adaptation of any white man who wrote something in the last 150, 200 years, there's in my descriptions of characters, it's either very specific to a person of color or it's completely left open to interpretation. But that's me, and maybe it's a millennial thing because of my generation we're definitely more anti-racist than generations.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that it's changing, but I just read I'm so glad you brought this up because I just finished reading Andrea Kindred's From Slavery to Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
And she was just discussing, she worked for Gene Coon on the original series as his personal secretary on the original series of Star Trek. And she talks about this exact same issue, that if a character was not written to be a specific race or a specific, ethnic group, it was always assumed that they were white. And that's how and even though the writers in Star Trek were pretty progressive for the time, they were still blind. There are these major blind spots when it comes to gender and when it came to race still. So
it's amazing, isn't it? It's quite amazing.
It is.
Like people don't realize that. That's how they see it. They're like, well, no, I mean, it's sort of like how insidious it was back many years ago when who was the Fox? Megyn Kelly said, come on, people, Santa Claus is white. You want to be like, oh my God, you mean the guy who has reindeers and he gets to every child's house on the same night to give them presents through the fireplace? He has to be white, and the whole drama that's happening with Ariel, the mermaid.
The mermaid, because they cast
the half human, half fish. Has to be
has to be white. Has to be white.
I mean, it's insidious, isn't it? It's
insidious.
And why would you take that away from children? Why would you take that away from children? I know for the first time when I got to see, Michelle Nichols. I mean, the first time people of color got to see themselves represented, or not just trans people, any LGBTQ, any otherismed person, when they finally get to see themselves in in television, film, stage, it's unbelievably validating. You just go, oh, I am here. I am part of this world. To take, to sort of break it down to like, well, no, the world is white, and then we dabble in some spice. I mean,
and it's kind of funny that you mention, of course, Michelle, because with Martin Luther King's birthday, right?
Right.
Okay. I mean, he was a Star Trek fan, obviously.
Yep.
And he actually saw what she was doing and talked to her, had that conversation with her. You can't quit.
You can't leave.
He was going to leave. And how important it was that she stayed on that bridge.
That's exactly right.
She was in that position of being an authority figure at that time period, that it was not socially acceptable for that to be happening. And just the braveness of her to say, you know what, I'll stay. Even though I know I'm not being treated right here.
Right.
I'm still going to stay because it's important that I show anti-racist right off the bat, and there were, we all sit and we look at old Star Trek episodes and we go, there's some problems here at that point, there is. And Gene Roddenberry was a great guy, but still at the same time, he was still a person of the time.
That's right.
At that point. And that's sometimes what we got to remember too, is that time period was a little different, even though, things you can sit there and make that checklist and go, the skirts were too short and this and that, but the time period is there, and so that's where a lot of times within the fandom, we do see some of that fights back and forth, because you've got the original people
Right.
that are all TOS fans. And then the incredible stuff that has now come out, starting, even starting with Next Generation, but really starting with DS9.
Yeah.
Okay? DS9 really so upset it didn't go longer, because
Yeah.
they really, that last season where they knew they were going to be canceled, they got into so many
They were
things.
like,
Yeah.
Cancel
They were like,
already,
oh,
right?
we're go big.
Oh, you want to
Go
cancel
big.
us?
Let's cover everything. That's
Speaking
why.
of, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
I mean, I'm going to interrupt because I
No.
am looking
Go
at the
for it.
time.
Yeah, no.
Speaking
go
of
ahead.
going big, I want to toss it over to Ellie, just because I know that she is joining us internationally.
I
Mhm.
know.
And I
Yeah.
wanted to give her the opportunity to ask another
Sure.
question. So thanks for letting me interject there. Thank you.
Sure.
All good. No worries.
Yeah. Well. You got me again because
Oh.
I wasn't prepared.
Mhm.
Yeah. About
Ellie and I end up crying together every time we're on a just happens.
yeah, because I was bullied because a teacher when I was 15 in eighth grade, teachers asking us where do you see 80 years, and I was like, well, I want to be a friend with my favorite actor, and I have so much hate for it. And look at me now, eight years, and I am friends with you, Michelle.
That's
and
right. That's right. Yes, you are my
Yeah.
friend.
Beautiful.
You are my friend, my dear. You made that you made that happen. You made that happen. You made that.
Yeah, and
You reached out to me. I mean, that was, see how strong, how bold and brave and strong you were? You reached out
Yeah.
to me. There was two possible answers. I could have said no,
Mhm.
and that's
Yeah.
a truth.
Yep.
But I said yes, and you would not have known that had you not reached out to me. So that's
Yeah. She has become so good with that, because when she first started, she was going to her first con and she's like, what do I do? I'm going to go up and talk to them. And we were all like, just remember, they're regular people. Go up and talk to them, and she was just so nervous. And then after the con was over, she's like, oh my gosh, that's all we heard was how great it went and all these fantastic things. And she's like, I've talked to all these people and it's so great. So yeah, she has become such a wonderful I love watching somebody blossom, and
Yep.
she is so blossomed over this past few months that I've known her. That
Absolutely.
it's just fantastic.
And the
So,
fact she's teaching other people English, kids,
I
teaching them
mean-
English is phenomenal.
oh yeah,
You manifested
absolutely.
all of this. You created all of this. That's so powerful. You are so powerful, my dear. So powerful. It's just glorious.
Right.
Glorious.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also, my question is, how do you react when somebody came to you and say that Raffi inspired them be better, and they actually see them in your character? How do you feel about it?
Oh, Ellie, you're just gonna make me cry. It's sorry.
Aw.
I didn't mean to.
Here they go.
Sorry.
Here we go.
We can now say that Michelle cried on the Tab podcast.
But I didn't want to do it. Like,
No, because I'm so humbled by it. I really am, because I love acting. I love what I do. I love artists. I love the whole craft, right? I love to contribute to society. To have people tell me their vulnerable stories, and to tell me that they've been struggling and that they've been hurting and that they haven't been felt that they've been seen. And then for them to come up to me and tell me that my work
Mhm.
has made them feel empowered or seen or helped them. I mean, I feel not worthy. I feel so, I don't even have the words, it's just
Yep.
it's just an amazing gift that I was given to be Raffi.
Mhm.
I never knew how important it would be for her to be in my life. my little USS Sappy Discord family has changed my life.
Yep.
They are mean so much to me. And, you know, I didn't know the impact. I remember Jonathan Del Arco telling me first season, he said, Michelle, you have no idea, and Patrick as well. But he said, you have no idea what you're stepping into being on Star Trek. You know, it's going to change your life. And Jonathan's biggest thing was, he said, it's because it's the fans, and they're not fans, they're family. Right. They become part of your life, and you are part of their life. And, you know, just wait and see. And he was 100% correct, because it's, you know, I had in, I think it was in Germany, there was a moment where I was signing some pictures, and I had my head down, and I just finished this one picture, and then this young lady put in front of me a 11 by 14 charcoal rendering of my father. And my father's not with me anymore. Right. He's passed. Right. And I wasn't ready for it. And so as soon as I saw it, like it touched my heart immediately. And I kind of, like, my eyes kind of welled up. And I looked up, and there was this young woman who's autistic. And I was so shocked, because it looked just like him. And I looked at her, and she went, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. And you know, and I was like, no. And her mom was sort of standing off to the side, and I got up, and I asked, because you should, I said, is it okay if I hug you? You know, and she stopped for a moment, and then she went, you know, yes. And I hugged her, and I said, thank you. I'm in shock. How did you, why, how? And she said, Raffi has spoken to her. You know, she said, Raffi has made me feel seen, that you don't have to be perfect. And she said, and so I wanted to know about you. And I looked you up, and then I saw that your father had passed. And I thought, maybe you'd like to see your dad.
Yeah.
You know, and it's moments like that I am so unbelievably humbled and grateful and thankful. And I just, you know, I almost don't feel worthy to receive such gifts from so many beautiful people. So to answer your question, Ellie, it's been an honor. It's changed my life. You've changed my life. And I am forever grateful and thankful.
And that's go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You, in my opinion, you deserve the world, because you are an amazing person. And I am glad that I actually got to meet you in person in Germany, because, you know, like Rex and everybody can see, before FedCon, I was completely different person. And after FedCon, I was again, I changed, because, you know, I got to meet my friends, and you and Nana, and all the amazing experience. It was amazing experience. So yeah.
Same here.
Great. Yep. That's the whole thing about the Star Trek family. Okay?
Yeah.
It's been this way since the beginning.
Yep.
And it'll be this way towards the end. It is a different kind of fan base than some of the other genres. And once you're a star, you know, and I feel like you got a lot of weight on you too. You know, you really do, as that person, because so many people are looking up to you, and so many are looking up to the character. So there's a lot of weight that you have too out there. So and it's not easy to take that on to begin with, because I'm sure you heard about it before you even got in. Like you were saying, somebody told you, listen, this is different. This is a fan base that is family. And
speaking of family,
yep.
Speaking of family, I have to play big sister and say that I think my dear friend Ellie might need to get going, perhaps. Is that correct? Yeah, so
pop off.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ellie. Thanks so much.
It's been so wonderful. It's so good to see you always, my dear. Always. Thank you so much for introducing me to everybody here. And, you know, you've made my life so much better, and I'm so grateful for you. So thank you, my friend.
No worries.
You're welcome.
We appreciate you coming, Michelle, and we would like to invite you back at any time to come back
Absolutely.
and be on future podcasts with us, and also invite you to be a spokesperson for Tab
Oh,
too when you're out there.
absolutely.
Absolutely, we really appreciate that.
No, I
Yeah.
love this. This is a wonderful group. You guys are doing amazing work. Thank you for this. It's incredibly important. And, allies, we need allies. So yay. And I will, at the drop of the hat, you guys let me know. I'd be more than happy to join you again.
Absolutely. Thank you
Fantastic.
very
Thanks so
much.
much. Yeah, thanks so much again, Michelle, for joining us. I want to thank my fellow co-hosts, Rex Wood, Director of TAB, Bonfire, Miss Ellie as well. I also want to thank Mr. Scott Jensen, who is our technical director, and Ed O'Connell. We want to just shout out to Ed. He's been in the hospital, and we just want to send our best and healing vibes and thoughts to you, sir. We absolutely love having him aboard as an associate producer. I'm Kat King, reminding you to join the fight by going to join us at our Facebook group, Truckers Against Bullying. And I also want you to come catch us on Twitter and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure you hit the little bell, because when you hit the bell, you get the latest episodes. We've already had 4 episodes now, so there's plenty of content to go back and watch if you missed any of our previous episodes. Also check out our website at www.tabnation.org, and the podcast is available through Subspace Radio. A special shout out to Russ Haslidge and the Federation at trekfederation.com. We will be so happy to have you back, Michelle, and we are looking forward to our next podcast. Thanks so much, everyone, for being with us. Take care.
Guys, thank you so much.
Bye.